In this video, you'll learn how to set up your scoring profiles, lead stage thresholds, and what actions are available to trigger when an individual meets a threshold. The lead stage thresholds are created within the Scoring Actions tab in your scoring profile. Your thresholds will allow you to categorize your leads based on their score by setting a point value range for each. When a person's score reaches a threshold, you can set one or more actions to occur. You can define your thresholds in whatever way makes sense for your team. A common way to define thresholds is by temperature, where you have a cold group, a warm group, and a hot group. However you decide to proceed, it is important to determine your scale before setting them up. The thresholds range should be proportionate to the point values you're setting for each category. It's better to set up your threshold as larger and points as smaller because they tend to add up quickly. The thresholds are not set in stone and can be updated if not working as you'd intended. That being said, when needing to make adjustments to your scoring profile, it's better to adjust your reported points rather than your thresholds. This keeps you from having to retrain your sales team on the thresholds. You may or may not have thresholds set in your account already. And if it is your first time clicking into the default profile, you should see at least a default group here. Instead of creating a new threshold right away, you should edit the existing threshold by hovering over the Actions menu and clicking Edit. First, you need to set the stage name. I'm going to start with my lowest threshold, which I will call the cold group. Next, I can add a value for the lead stage summary. Think of when we discussed the mappings in the first video. We map to a score field and a description field called Fusion Score Description. The value that I put here will map to the record's description field. I can either copy and paste the stage name, describe the threshold in more detail, or leave it blank if I'm not mapping. Next, I'll set the range for my threshold. Your thresholds need to begin at least 1 point and can go up to 999 points. The highest point value I plan to set for an activity is 20. So I want to keep that in mind while setting the end range so that the people can move through to the next threshold if they're active, but not too quickly if they're not ready. Next, I have the profile scoring actions. These actions will occur automatically when a person reaches this threshold. You may not have actions set for all thresholds, but it is important to remember that the lead scoring houses powerful automation, and actions should be set in at least one threshold to see the benefits of using this module. Also, you could set more than one action per threshold if you like. To see the list of actions, you'll click Add New. Some actions require some setup before application, which we'll review as we go through. The first action is to add the lead to an external CRM. You'd want to make sure that you have the action set in the connector screen first. This action will create a new lead in your external CRM when triggered. Next, you have Push to External CRM. You also want to make sure that you have the permissions set in the connector screen before applying. This will push updated fields to existing lead and contact records in your CRM. Update contact and lead. You'd need to have an update contact template set up before applying. You can update any field on the contacts table based on the value you apply in the template. This will only update the record in Sugar Market unless the Push to External CRM action is set here as well. You can add a task or an opportunity to a record. You would need to have a task or opportunity template set up first. Next is Add to Distribution List. The list would need to be created prior to setting up this action. You can add the record to a triggered nurture. Just keep in mind the nurture needs to be set up and activated first. You can also remove the record from a distribution list or a nurture through the actions. Next, you can send a single trigger email to the record. Again, you need the trigger email to be created and activated first. Send Score Alert will send a default score alert to the lead or contact's owner. Please note that all alerts will send to the assigned user every time the record completes a scoreable action that keeps them within the same threshold. Alert user will send a contact alert to a Sugar Market user. You can create a contact alert template to define the message. Next, alert role will send a contact alert to all users in a Sugar Market role. The template needs to be created here first as well. And finally, Alert Geo will send an alert to a geo group that is set up in Sugar Market. You'll also want to be sure that a template is created there first as well. I don't need to set an action for my lowest threshold, but I do have a cold distribution list that I would like to use for specific campaigns. I need to select Add to Distribution List and select the list that I've created, then click Save. After all changes are made, I can click Save and then Return. Now I'll go through the setup for my warm and hot thresholds. Keep in mind these are only examples and you don't need to set your ranges or actions the same in your own profile. Now that I have defined my lead stage thresholds, I'm ready to set the point values to be awarded for scorable actions. To learn more about web activity scoring, tune into the next video in this series.